It was a summer evening, the air thick with the aroma of grilling meats and exotic spices at the street food festival. I was happily munching on a Korean taco when I bumped into him. Thiago. He was charming, with a smile that could melt glaciers, and we instantly connected. I thought I'd found someone special, but little did I know I was about to embark on a journey that would leave me questioning everything I thought I knew about love and trust. I should have seen the red flags waving furiously right from the start. I'll never forget the day I finally understood the truth. Hi, I'm Sarah, and I want to share my story with you. It's a story of betrayal, manipulation, and ultimately, self-discovery. Have you ever been in a relationship where you felt like you were constantly giving, and the other person was just taking? Let me know where you're listening from in the comments, and if you have been in a similar situation. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Our first few dates were magical. He told me about his dreams of becoming a photographer, his passion for travel, and his deep love for his family back in Brazil. I was smitten. I loved his accent, his easy laughter, and the way he looked at me like I was the only woman in the world. He said he was working remotely, doing freelance gigs. He was in between projects, he said. It seemed reasonable. I was working as a marketing manager, so I was doing all right. Within a couple of months, Thiago was spending almost every night at my apartment. It felt natural at first. We were in love, or so I thought, and being together felt right.
He gradually started keeping some clothes at my place, then a few books, and before I knew it, his entire life had seemingly migrated into my 2-bedroom apartment. The problem? He wasn't contributing financially. Not one dime. At first I didn't mind. I was enjoying the relationship and I figured he'd start contributing soon enough. But weeks turned into months, and the silence regarding finances became deafening. I was paying for everything: rent, groceries, utilities, entertainment. Everything. I began to feel like I was supporting him. Then, the subtle criticism started. Little jabs about my American ways, my work ethic, my friends, even the way I decorated my apartment. Americans are so obsessed with work, he'd say, or you spend too much money on things you don't need. It wasn't overt, but it was constant, chipping away at my confidence and making me feel like I was somehow failing him. I remember one day I was making eggs for breakfast and I put salt on them. Americans put salt on everything, he said with a slight smirk. The imbalance in our relationship was becoming increasingly apparent. I was working long hours to pay the bills, while he spent his days networking or working on his portfolio, which seemed to translate to lounging on my couch and watching soccer. I felt a knot of resentment tightening in my stomach. One evening, after a particularly expensive grocery run, I decided I couldn't take it anymore. I mustered all my courage and brought up the subject of finances.
Thiago, I began tentatively. I love having you here, but I'm starting to feel a little overwhelmed with all the expenses. Do you think you could maybe start contributing something? His reaction was not what I expected. He became immediately defensive, his easy smile replaced with a cold, hard stare. Are you saying I'm a burden? He snapped. That I'm just using you for your money? I was taken aback. No, that's not what I'm saying at all, I protested. I just think it's fair for both of us to contribute to the household. He launched into a tirade about how I didn't understand his situation, how difficult it was for artists to make a living, and how I was being materialistic and insensitive. He accused me of not supporting his dreams. Somehow I ended up feeling guilty for even bringing it up. He was very good at that.
He would turn the situation upside down and make me feel like I was the villain. A few weeks later, Thiago's parents came to visit from Brazil. I was nervous but also excited to meet them. I wanted them to like me, to see that I was good for their son. I spent days cleaning the apartment and preparing a traditional American dinner. I remember searching online for the most popular dishes in America. I finally decided to make a classic pot roast with mashed potatoes and green beans. The dinner started out pleasantly enough. His parents, Maria and Ricardo, were polite, if a bit reserved. They spoke limited English, so the conversation was stilted. I tried my best to communicate, asking them about their trip and their lives back in Brazil. Thiago acted as a translator, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Throughout the meal, Maria and Ricardo would frequently lapse into rapid-fire Portuguese, casting furtive glances in my direction. I couldn't understand what they were saying, but their tone was undeniably critical. Thiago would chuckle and offer a vague explanation. "Oh, they're just saying how much they like your apartment," or "they're impressed with your cooking." But I wasn't convinced. My gut was screaming at me that they were talking about me, and it wasn't anything good. After dinner, as I was doing the dishes, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease. I decided to do something I normally wouldn't do. I checked the recordings from my security camera. I'd installed it a while back for security, and it recorded both audio and video. I told Thiago it was for package theft. I never thought I would use it to spy on my boyfriend and his parents. I fast-forwarded to the dinner scene and braced myself. I don't speak Portuguese, but I found an online translation service and painstakingly transcribed their conversation. What I heard made my blood run cold. Maria began, "She seems nice enough, but she's so plain. And look at this apartment. It's so generic. Where is the personality?" Ricardo chimed in, "And she works all the time." How will she ever take care of Thiago properly? He needs someone who can dedicate themselves to him, not some career woman. But the most devastating part was what Thiago said. I know, he said with a sigh. "But it's convenient for now. She pays for everything, and she keeps the apartment clean. It's not like I'm going to marry her or anything." I felt like I had been punched in the gut.
The man I thought I loved, the man I had been supporting and sacrificing for, saw me as nothing more than a convenient housekeeper. And his parents clearly felt the same way. The next morning, after they left for the airport, I confronted Thiago. I played the recording for him, watching his face drain of color as he listened to his own words. "What do you have to say for yourself?" I demanded, my voice trembling with rage. He stammered and tried to deny it, but the evidence was irrefutable. He finally admitted that he agreed with his parents' assessment of me. He said he was just trying to appease them, but the damage was done. "Get out," I said, my voice cold and hard. "Get out of my apartment and out of my life." He tried to apologize, to explain, to beg for forgiveness, but I wouldn't listen. I packed his belongings into suitcases and dragged them to the door. I changed the locks as soon as he was gone. I thought that was the end of it, but I was wrong. So wrong. The real nightmare was just beginning. Over the next few weeks, Thiago embarked on a campaign of harassment and gaslighting that left me feeling like I was losing my mind. He started by contacting my friends and family, telling them that I was mentally unstable and that they should be concerned about me. He painted me as a jealous, controlling girlfriend who had unjustly kicked him out. Some of my friends, who knew me well, saw through his lies. But others, particularly my more distant relatives, started to believe him. I received concerned phone calls and emails, asking if I was okay and suggesting that I seek help. I felt like my reputation was being tarnished, and I was powerless to stop it. Then he started showing up at my workplace. He would stand outside my office building, staring at me through the window, or he would approach me in the parking lot, pleading with me to take him back. He would send me a dozen emails per day, talking about the things that he misses about me. It was unnerving and disruptive, and it made me feel unsafe. One afternoon, he came into my office and created a scene, accusing me of ruining his life and demanding that I apologize for the way I had treated him. My coworkers were horrified, and my boss had to intervene. It was the most humiliating experience of my life. I knew I had to do something, so I went to the police and filed a report. They advised me to get a restraining order, which I immediately began the process of obtaining. The day I went to court to file for the restraining order, Thiago was waiting for me outside. He blocked my path and started shouting at me, calling me names and accusing me of being a liar and a manipulator. I was terrified. "I can't believe you're doing this to me, Sarah," he screamed. "After everything we've been through, you're going to ruin my life." I tried to push past him, but he grabbed my arm. "Let go of me," I shouted. Just then, 2 police officers appeared and pulled him away. They arrested him for harassment and violating my personal space. It was a small victory, but it gave me a glimmer of hope that I could finally escape his clutches. The restraining order was granted, and Thiago was ordered to stay away from me, my home, and my workplace. I felt a sense of relief, but I knew that the damage had already been done. A few days later, I received a phone call from Maria, Thiago's mother. She was crying and begging for my forgiveness. She said that she and Ricardo had realized the error of their ways and that they were ashamed of how they had treated me. She revealed that they had booked Thiago a one-way ticket back to Brazil. They had realized that his behavior was unacceptable and that he needed to go home and get his life back on track. I was stunned. I didn't know what to say. I thanked her for the call and hung up, feeling a strange mix of relief and vindication. Thiago was gone. He was out of my life for good. In the aftermath of the whole ordeal, I realized that I had some serious work to do on myself. I had ignored so many red flags in the beginning of the relationship, blinded by my desire for love and companionship. I had allowed Thiago to take advantage of me, both financially and emotionally, because I was afraid of being alone. I started going to therapy to address my issues with boundaries and red flags. My therapist helped me understand why I had been so vulnerable to Thiago's manipulation and how to recognize and avoid similar situations in the future. It was a long and difficult process, but I emerged from it stronger and wiser. I learned to trust my instincts, to set healthy boundaries, and to value myself enough to walk away from relationships that weren't serving me. I also realized that I had a lot of amazing people in my life who loved and supported me, despite Thiago's attempts to turn them against me. I reconnected with my friends and family, and I focused on building stronger, healthier relationships based on mutual respect and trust. It's been a few years since Thiago left my life. I'm now in a happy and fulfilling relationship with someone who treats me with kindness, respect, and equality. We share our finances, our dreams, and our responsibilities. I finally feel like I'm in a partnership, not a one-sided arrangement. Looking back on my experience with Thiago, I realized that it was a painful but valuable lesson. I learned the importance of self-love, self-respect, and setting boundaries. I also learned that sometimes the people who seem the most charming and charismatic are the ones who are the most dangerous. And what about Thiago? I heard through the grapevine that he's back in Brazil, working as a photographer and living with his parents. I don't know if he's changed his ways, but I hope that he's learned from his mistakes and that he's treating the women in his life with more respect. I hope my story serves as a warning to others who may be in a similar situation. If you're in a relationship where you feel like you're being taken advantage of, where your boundaries are being crossed, or where you're constantly being criticized and belittled, please know that you deserve better. Don't be afraid to walk away, even if it's difficult. Your happiness and well-being are worth it. And that's when I realized the true gift wasn't escaping Thiago, but the strength I found within myself to rebuild. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more tales of love, betrayal, and resilience, don't forget to subscribe to our channel.